Part 1: The Alarm. That no one scheduled from the series locked down one, but no one locked it at 9:17 a.m. on a Tuesday. Every phone buzzed, every hallway speaker hissed, and then the voice came through. Lockdown, lock all doors, lights out, stay silent. It wasn't the tone that got everyone's attention. It was the fact that no one had scheduled a drill. Ms. Harper blinked at the intercom like it had insulted her. That wasn't on the staff calendar, she mumbled, fingers tightening around her coffee mug. The steaming liquid sloshed onto her desk. Around her, 23 10th graders looked up from open Chromebooks and half-filled worksheets. Some shifted in their seats. One or two giggled nervously. "That's so weird, right?" whispered Anna Beck, nudging her friend Luke in the ribs. "Is this one of those social experiments?" "I think I saw this in a Netflix doc," Luke muttered back. But when Ms. Harper stood up, she didn't look amused. Her brow furrowed as she reached the classroom door and turned the lock with a loud metallic click. "All right, everyone. Just follow procedure. Lights off. Away from windows." There was something in her voice, not panic, but the kind of edge you hear when someone's trying not to let panic win. The room darkened. Students shuffled to the back corner like they'd rehearsed a dozen times. But this time felt different. This time, nobody was counting seconds before someone broke into laughter. No one pulled out their phones, it was too quiet. Then, a soft clang echoed from somewhere down the hall. Not the heavy bang of a locker. Not the usual slam of a door caught in a breeze. It was slower, metallic, rhythmic. Clang, clang. Ms. Harper's head turned sharply toward the door. "That doesn't sound like janitor work," she whispered, more to herself than anyone else. Lucas Wynn, sitting cross-legged behind the lab cart, tried not to breathe too loud. He could see the silhouette of the classroom door, the skinny window that looked into the West Wing hallway. It should have been empty, silent. But something passed by, not quickly. It didn't run. It moved with slow, almost deliberate steps. Heavy ones. Lucas saw the faintest shadow glide across the door's narrow glass pane. No defined shape, just distortion, like heat rising off asphalt. But in a hallway that cold, that still, it wasn't right. Clang. The sound moved further down the corridor. Anna's hand clutched Lucas's sleeve. "Tell me that's part of the drill," she mouthed. He didn't answer. Across the room, Ms. Harper was dialing the front office with trembling fingers. The line rang and rang. No pickup. After the 5th ring, the intercom sparked again. "Remain." In lockdown, this is not a drill, but it wasn't the usual calm, robotic voice. It was slower, distorted. Almost like someone was playing a recording backward and then layering another voice over it. And it didn't stop after the usual 30 seconds. It kept playing, over and over. "Remain in lockdown. This is not a drill." Students started whispering, low, fast. Ms. Harper hung up and tried the school's emergency radio. No response. Lucas checked his phone. No notifications, no active alerts, no messages from the school app, which was strange, because those always came through instantly, even the ones about cafeteria menu changes. His lock screen blinked at 9:22, and then froze. He tried to swipe. Nothing moved. Pressed the home button. Still frozen. Then the lights flickered. Just once. But in that instant, everyone saw it. The window. The classroom had one small window facing the inner courtyard. There shouldn't have been anyone out there, But for a half second, someone like something done stood just outside, head tilted, too still, then gone. The lights buzzed again. Lucas suddenly felt like the walls were breathing, not moving, but pressing in, just barely, with each passing second. "I don't like this," whispered Anna. He nodded, eyes locked on the hallway. The metallic sound returned, but this time, it was closer again. Clank, clank, closer. A breath caught in Lucas's throat. Something told him, no, screamed, that if he looked directly out that skinny glass panel, he wouldn't like what he saw. He turned his gaze slightly. Nothing. Then, the fire alarm rang. Shrill, sudden, ear-splitting. But the doors, every door, stayed locked. Panic rose in waves. Ms. Harper tried the handle. "It won't unlock," she hissed. Lucas stood, moving toward the door, almost against his better judgment. That's when the hallway lights shut off, completely. No flicker, just dark. And something pressed, gently, rhythmically, against the outside of the classroom door. Not banging, knocking. Tap, tap, tap. Lucas didn't realize his hands were shaking until Anna reached for them. No one spoke. Then the intercom came on one final time, but the message had changed. "Lucas Wynn," it said. "Please report to the main office." No one laughed, because no one was supposed to know he was there. Part 2. The basement text from the series. Locked down, but no one locked it. "It's not human. It took Mr. Graham. I'm hiding. Don't come down." The text lit up on Riley's phone at exactly 10:13 a.m. The sender? Mason Reyes, Jr., science nerd, known for sneaking into the school basement lab during free periods to work on his DIY robotics projects. Riley blinked at the message, at first assuming it was a prank, until the second part arrived. A single audio clip, just 3 seconds long. It started with hurried breathing, then a sharp metallic screech like something dragging across tile, and finally a whisper, so soft it almost got swallowed by static. "It knows." Then, silence. Riley sat frozen in room 204 English Lit. Mr. Harrow was still mid-sentence about Gatsby's green light when the second lockdown alert blared again. The first had sent everyone under desks, but this one felt different, longer. The pitch distorted, like it had been slowed down. Some students glanced around nervously. Riley looked at her phone. Mason's message hadn't been followed up. No, just kidding. No, LOL gotcha, nothing. After class, Riley didn't go to the bathroom like she told her teacher. She made her way downstairs instead, toward the science wing. Greenville High's basement wasn't officially off limits, but everyone knew to avoid it. It had that smell. Old chemicals and forgotten things. The stairwell light flickered like a dying insect. At the base of the steps, she paused. Her flashlight app was on, illuminating rows of lab benches and metallic cabinets. Everything looked untouched. No backpacks, no spilled equipment, no signs of Mason, no sign of Mr. Graham either. She called out, "Mason?" Only her voice echoed back. Then her phone vibrated again. But it wasn't a message. It was her screen, glitching. The screen flickered like a VHS tape on rewind. For a moment, the image of the science room distorted. Her camera showed someone, standing by the far wall. A tall figure, unmoving. its head slightly tilted, watching her. She spun around. Nothing was there. By the time staff arrived, triggered by the motion sensors Riley had unknowingly set off, she was already upstairs. Pale-faced. Silent. She told the administrators what she'd seen, what Mason had sent. The screech, the message. But when they opened the lab again, it was spotless. No signs of struggle, no fingerprints out of place, and Mason's phone still registered as offline. When I checked the security footage, they found something stranger. From 9:58 to 10:16 a.m., the time of Mason's message, every camera feed from the basement was missing, not corrupted, gone, like someone or something had deleted it in real time. That night, Riley didn't sleep. She kept replaying the sound clip, slowing it down, reversing it, filtering it. At 2:47 a.m., she heard something she hadn't noticed before, just under the screech, hidden like a whisper behind the static. Her name, not Mason's, hers. Riley, like the voice was crawling up through her phone screen. Part 3, names that shouldn't exist from the series locked down. But no one locked it at first, it just looked like a typo. Micah Summers leaned back in the library chair, frowning at the screen of the ancient student database terminal, the kind the school barely used anymore. Gray keys, black screen, blinking green cursor. Most kids didn't even know it still worked, but Micah did. And this morning when he logged in to run a cross-check for the school newspaper, something strange caught his eye. "Who the hell is Harold Greaves?" he muttered. Nina glanced up from across the table. Huh? This name, Harold Greaves, grade 11, transferred from nowhere. There's no previous school listed, she shrugged. Might be new. Or homeschooled. Micah shook his head. Look at the enrollment date. He turned the monitor slightly so she could see. Nina squinted. Wait, that says August 17th, 1999? Exactly. Micah pulled up another profile, then another. There were 4 students listed in the system, all supposedly active, meaning currently enrolled. All had entry dates from either 1998 or 1999. None had email accounts. None had class schedules. Just photos, low resolution, black and white, scanned like they came from a different century, because they had. And one more thing. All 4 students were marked as last seen during a lockdown drill in October 1999. But Greenville High had no records of such a drill, nothing official. The event didn't exist in the school's calendar archives, it wasn't mentioned in yearbooks, not even in the local newspaper's search database. It was like it never happened, except these students were still in the system. Maybe it's just old data that didn't get wiped, Nina offered, though her voice had dropped a notch and she leaned a little closer as if afraid someone might overhear. Micah wasn't convinced. The system shouldn't still be tracking students 2 decades later, not unless someone updated it, not unless it thought they were still on campus. Try pulling up more, he said. Nina tapped a few keys. Names appeared, one by one. Alyssa Barnes, last seen, gymnasium, 10/12/99. Caleb Ford, last seen, art wing, 10/12/99. Jeremy Vale, last seen, main office, 10/12/99. The hairs on Micah's neck lifted. It's the same day for all of them. The day of the drill, Nina whispered. But again, No drill was ever scheduled that day. They switched stations and tried checking through the librarian's terminal. This one had deeper access, buried behind layers of login walls and faculty codes. Fortunately, Nina's mom was the school's assistant librarian, and she'd written her password on a sticky note taped under the desk drawer, Bronte for life. Once they were in, Micah opened the system's archived logs. That's when they found it, a folder titled Emergency Procedures 1999 locked, red flagged, hidden from regular view. Micah clicked. It asked for a password. Nina typed, lockdown, incorrect. She tried again, drill 99. Still wrong. Micah stared at the screen, thinking, what if it's not about the event, he asked. What if it's about them? He typed the last name from the student list, Greaves. The folder opened. Inside were logs, dozens, some corrupted. Others marked with strings of digits, timestamps mostly. But one entry stood out. It was labeled Intercom Feed, 10/12/99, 10/13. Micah clicked. A grainy audio file began to play. Static first, then a voice. Mechanical, crackling. Lockdown, in progress. Remain in your assigned areas. This is not a drill. Then silence. Then the sound of breathing. Not normal breathing. Something deeper. Ragged, like lungs scraping inside a too small cage, and a voice, barely audible, as if someone were whispering into a microphone not meant for whispers. It said, still here. Then the file cut out. Micah and Nina sat frozen, eyes locked. Do you think those kids? Nina started. Micah shook his head slowly. I don't know. But this isn't a glitch. They stayed silent a few more moments, trying to shake the chill. Then Nina asked, why didn't anyone ever talk about this? It was a fair question, but they both already knew the answer, because maybe whoever remembered it didn't stay around long enough to tell. Later that afternoon, they approached Ms. Harwood, the current librarian, middle-aged, brisk, kind, of a mystery to everyone. Micah casually asked, hey, was there ever a lockdown here like a long time ago, like in the 90s? Her face froze. Then she smiled. Too quickly. Of course not, she said. Greenville didn't even have electronic intercom back then. That's weird, Nina said. Because we found, Harwood's smile sharpened. That system is not for student use. Micah's blood ran cold. She hadn't asked what they found, but she already knew. That night, Micah's home internet went out. So did the lights in his room. At 10:13 p.m., his phone lit up. One new notification. Message from an unknown number. Greaves. Still here. Micah stared at the screen, heart hammering. Then another name appeared beneath the first. Summers, next. And in the background of the message, faintly, like audio feedback, he could swear he heard breathing. Part 4. The elevator that shouldn't work from the series. Locked down. But no one locked it. The elevator hadn't moved in years. It sat forgotten at the end of the east hallway behind a locked metal door labeled Staff Only. Most students at Greenville High didn't even know it existed. The school was built in 1964, and like most public buildings from that era, it came with its own quiet skeletons, basement archives, inaccessible stairwells, dusty catwalks above the stage in the auditorium, but none of them hummed to life during a lockdown. Until that morning. It was 20 minutes after the alarm went off. Teachers had locked their doors. Students crouched under desks. The flickering white overheads cast long shadows across the silent halls, punctuated only by the soft mechanical hum of the ventilation system. Then came the ding, not the fire alarm, not the intercom. A soft ding like an elevator arriving on a floor. The sound echoed oddly, too clean for a building this old. Students in nearby classrooms didn't notice it, but the security camera watching the east hallway blinked once, then caught the metal door swinging open, seemingly on its own. Inside, the elevator's panel lit up red. The doors parted, and the intercom crackled. "Jordan Myers," it said. "Jordan Myers, please proceed to the lower level." That name wasn't called in any other classroom, except Jordan's. He stood up from under the desk, pale, shaking. "Did you guys hear that?" he whispered to his classmates. Mr. Ortega, their math teacher, shot him a warning glance. "Sit down, Jordan. No one's going anywhere." No. Jordan pointed toward the ceiling. It said my name. Some of the others stared. Some rolled their eyes. A girl near the back muttered, "It's probably a glitch. Sit down before you get us all in trouble." But Jordan didn't sit. He walked to the door and pressed his ear to it. Silence, except the intercom crackled again. But this time it didn't call his name, it just breathed, long, raspy, mechanical breathing, as if something was on the other end of the line, just waiting. That was enough for him. He unlocked the door, against all protocol, and stepped out into the hall. Later, everyone would say they tried to stop him, but the truth was, no one moved. He followed the hum, past the lockers, past the red exit signs, until he stood in front of the elevator. It was open, and somehow clean. The floor tile looked newer. The metal walls gleamed. There was no ding this time, just the soft sound of the intercom whispering, "Lower level." He stepped inside. The camera showed him reach out and press the button labeled B. The doors closed. The light above blinked. Then nothing. No mechanical groan, no vibration, just silence. 15 minutes later, security finally opened the elevator doors. It was empty. No blood, no signs of struggle, no footprints. Just silence. And the faint scent of burned plastic. They checked the camera feed. It was intact, until the moment the elevator doors shut. Then static. Then black screen. And when the feed came back, the elevator opened, but there was no basement, no floor, just an open shaft, descending into concrete and shadow. No cables, no wiring, no bottom. The next day, Jordan's name was removed from the attendance list. The administration claimed he was transferred. Students whispered that his locker had been emptied before first period. But Jordan's best friend, Isaiah, knew the truth. Because the morning after the lockdown ended, he got a voicemail on his phone. It was Jordan, but it wasn't Jordan. "Isaiah," the voice rasped, distorted like it was underwater. "Don't let it call your name. Don't go in. It's not an elevator. It's a door. A door that remembers. I'm still falling." Then, click. Isaiah didn't sleep that night. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the flickering street lamp outside casting broken shadows through the blinds. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the elevator shaft, not as a machine, but as a mouth. A hungry, open throat stretching into darkness. A place that didn't swallow people whole, but kept them falling. The voicemail haunted him. He played it again and again. Jordan's voice, warped and desperate. Something about the phrasing. It wasn't like he was in danger. It was like he was already lost. Isaiah Googled blueprints of the school. No mention of any lower level. He searched archived photos, yearbooks, construction updates, renovation blueprints from the 90s. But in every one, the east wing was the same. No elevator, no door, just a smooth concrete wall. But Isaiah remembered that ding, the mechanical calm, the red light above the frame like a pupil dilating. He started noticing other things too. The janitor, Mr. Bell, stopped cleaning the East Hall. The fire drill maps near classroom doors had that part of the building whited out. When Isaiah asked his counselor about Jordan, she tilted her head like she didn't understand the question. Jordan, who? He stopped asking after that. Then came the whisper. It happened 2 days later. Isaiah was walking alone after school, earbuds in, heading past the east wing to avoid the crowded front exit. As he passed the old staff hallway, he paused. There it was again. That sound. Ding. He turned slowly. The hallway was empty, quiet. The same flickering overhead light that never got fixed. But as he stared into the dim corridor, something cold ran down his spine. The intercom vent above him buzzed softly. Isaiah Fields. It didn't say anything else. It didn't need to. He turned and ran. Now Isaiah avoids the east side entirely. Doesn't talk about what happened. And every time the intercom crackles, even for the pledge or morning announcements, his palms go cold, because the elevator wasn't broken. It was patient and it was still choosing, and he knew. The next student who hears their name might not have time to run. Part 5. Knocks from the closet from the series. Locked down, but no one locked it. It's funny, you know, the way a knock can sound like a heartbeat if you listen long enough. That was what Ms. Emma Reed, the soft-spoken English teacher at Greenville High, said one afternoon, sipping coffee from a paper cup in the teacher's lounge. Nobody paid her much attention. Teachers tend to ramble after a long day, filling empty air with empty talk. But I remembered. I always remember those little things, those snippets of everyday strangeness. They stick like chewing gum to the bottom of a shoe. Because I heard it too. Not just knocking. A heartbeat. It was almost dusk. The halls were awash in the gray-gold gloom of fading sunlight. Lockers stood quietly side by side, like soldiers holding their breath. The corridors were hushed, except for the occasional squeak of janitors' shoes as they pushed carts full of dirty rags and cleaning bottles, preparing to erase the day's chaos. Mr. Blake had asked me to stay late. Detention. Just me and the old ticking clock on the wall, endlessly chasing itself around its yellowing face. I was scribbling mindless sentences into my notebook, not even paying attention to what the words said when the first knock came. 3 quick taps. Gentle, but insistent. I glanced up, listened carefully. My pencil frozen in midair. Knock, knock, knock. The sound echoed through the empty room again, deliberate and slow, like the soft tapping of fingers against wood. My heart quickened. Mr. Blake had stepped out to grab papers from the office. I was alone. Well, almost alone. "Hello?" I said hesitantly. My voice cracked, betraying my unease. Silence replied. It stretched out uncomfortably, then slowly receded, leaving only the hum of fluorescent lights overhead. Just as I relaxed, the knock returned. Louder, now sharper. My eyes flicked toward the storage closet at the back corner of the room. Old metal door, paint peeling at the edges, its handle tarnished with years of use. It was locked, of course, always locked. Blake said no one had used it since the mid-90s, since renovations sealed it off from the other rooms. But something about the sound told me differently. Is someone there? I whispered again, inching toward the door. The knocking persisted. Steady, rhythmic. Each set of taps echoed against my chest, syncing uncomfortably with my own pulse. Then, the knocking ceased. In the silence that followed, I found myself strangely breathless. I took another step closer, fingers trembling as I reached for the knob. The metal felt cold beneath my touch, unnaturally so, as though the door led to something much older, much deeper than just a dusty storage room. I turned the handle slowly, expecting resistance, but it gave easily. With a dull click, the door swung open a fraction of an inch. Darkness spilled from the crack like ink through water. The closet breathed out a stale, musty scent, the scent of forgotten time, still air, mold, decay. Hello? My voice was barely a whisper now. No answer. I pushed the door wider. Faint shadows retreated. The closet was empty. Empty shelves, empty hooks on the walls. Nothing but cobwebs and darkness. I flicked the switch by the door. The ancient bulb inside blinked reluctantly, casting a weak yellow glow. I stepped inside cautiously. The air was colder, heavier, like entering an unlit basement or an abandoned attic. The wooden shelves were covered in thick dust, untouched for years. Then I saw them, handprints, smudged, indistinct outlines against the back wall, as if someone had pressed their palms desperately against the plaster. Long finger marks streaked down, ending in uneven scratches. My skin prickled. Goosebumps rose in slow waves. My heart pulsed louder, echoing against my ribs. Something had been trapped in here. Someone had been trying to get out. I spun around, pulse hammering. Nobody behind me. I stepped out of the closet hurriedly, slamming. The door shut with a muffled bang. My breathing echoed in my ears. Too loud, too frantic. I took a step back, clutching my notebook like a shield. Then I heard it again. 3 taps, but this time, not from my closet, from the classroom next door. Tap, tap, tap. Then the next room down. Tap, tap, tap. Each knock, precise, following a rhythm that wasn't random. It felt deliberate, alive. Tap, tap, tap. Slowly, methodically, the sound traveled down the entire length of the hall, echoing faintly, moving room to room, and then silence returned, deeper, emptier than before. I stood frozen, breathing shallowly. Then the intercom crackled. Attention, the lockdown drill is now concluded. Thank you for your cooperation. But there had been no drill scheduled. Teachers stepped out of their rooms, looking confused, sharing nervous laughter. None seemed to have noticed the knocking, or felt anything unusual. Only I stood there, pale and quiet, trembling slightly. Everything. Okay, Lucas? Mr. Blake had returned, paperwork forgotten in his hand. eyes narrowing as he saw my expression. I think something's wrong with the closet," I whispered, feeling foolish even as I said it. He opened it again, casually, flicked on the old bulb. Dusty emptiness. No handprints, no smudges, nothing. I swear, it was there a minute ago. "Lucas," Blake's voice softened. "It's been a long day. You must be tired. Go home, get some rest. We'll talk tomorrow." I nodded weakly. There was no sense arguing. But as I left the classroom, I couldn't shake the cold feeling still curled around my heart. I couldn't erase the memory of those desperate prints and that rhythmic knocking. A rhythm too alive to be coincidence, too human to ignore. That night in bed, sleep eluded me. Every shadow became a shape, every creak in the house, a knock, a heartbeat. I lay awake, staring into the darkness, ears straining. Then, at exactly 2:13 a.m., 3 soft taps sounded at my bedroom door. Tap, tap, tap. My heart lurched, painfully. "Mom?" My voice was barely audible. Silence. Tap, tap, tap. I sat up, shivering, slowly swung my feet onto the cold floor, approached the door, hand shaking, breath tight. I turned the knob and pulled the door open swiftly. The hallway was empty, silent, dark, except at the very end, near the staircase, stood a figure, dark, unmoving, barely outlined by the dim glow from downstairs. It raised one hand, pressed it against the wall, softly, tap, 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 then stepped forward, toward me, slowly, deliberately. I slammed the door, heart racing, fumbling for the lock, pressed my ear against the wood. The hallway was silent again, except for the gentle creaking of old floorboards beneath a quiet weight. I held my breath, then came 3 soft knocks again, right against the door, inches from my ear, and a whisper, barely audible, breathy and cold. "You saw. Let me out." Then, silence. Empty. Hollow. I didn't move. I didn't sleep. I just listened. Afraid to open the door again. Knowing now, some doors are better left closed, but once opened, even briefly, they never fully shut again. Part 6. The mirror in the art room from the series, locked down. But no one locked it. Mirrors never lie, but they don't always tell the truth either. That's what Mrs. Harper, the art teacher at Greenville High, used to say. I never quite understood it back then, but now I wish I hadn't understood it at all. It was a bright Thursday afternoon. Sunlight filtered lazily through the classroom's broad windows. Art was the last class of the day. I was sketching absently, mind drifting in and out of focus. All around me, classmates murmured softly. Pencils whispered across paper, creating a peaceful rhythm. It felt good, safe even. For a moment, the strangeness of the past few days faded into background static, like a muffled radio broadcast from another world. I felt my shoulders relax, my breathing slowed, until the crack. A sharp snap echoed through the room like ice breaking on a frozen pond. I flinched. My pencil jerked, streaking abruptly across the page. Everyone turned in unison, like puppets pulled by the same invisible string. We were all staring at the mirror that dominated the back wall. It was antique, donated decades ago by some forgotten alum. It usually reflected the room clearly, Rows of easels, scattered art supplies, students hunched quietly over their work. But now, the mirror bore a jagged fracture. It started from the top corner and snaked downward like a silver thread. Nobody had touched it. Nobody had been near it. It simply cracked. Spontaneous and impossible. Mrs. Harper rose slowly from her desk. She approached the mirror like it was a sleeping animal that might wake and bite. She stopped a foot away, squinted through her glasses, her mouth twisted into a frown. "Oh my God," she whispered, one hand pressing gently against her chest. A chill prickled the back of my neck. I stood. My chair scraped softly across the linoleum. I moved closer. The reflection looked wrong, distorted slightly by the crack. But the longer I stared, the clearer it became. This wasn't our art room. This wasn't our reflection. Through the fractured glass, the room behind us had changed. Dark, washed out like an old photograph. The colors were sickly, yellowish gray. The overhead lights were no longer fluorescent. They were amber bulbs, flickering, casting warped shadows on stained and peeling walls, and through the classroom door. The hallway was on fire. Flames licked hungrily at the walls, orange and red ribbons twisting and coiling in silence. Smoke billowed thick and dark along the ceiling. Shapes moved behind it, blurred and wrong. I recognized the hallway, but not like this. Not scorched, not ruined, not abandoned to flames. Yet despite the inferno, the mirror's reflection gave us no sound, no crackling, no roaring blaze, no screams. Just silence. My heart thudded painfully. A cold sensation crawled up my spine, like icy fingers tracing bone. I turned, desperate for reality, but behind me, the classroom was normal, calm, oblivious. Students murmured softly. Mrs. Harper stood frozen, her eyes wide with quiet horror. I don't understand," she whispered. "This isn't possible." The mirror disagreed. Slowly, the image shifted, blurred, then sharpened. The flames receded. Now the floor was visible. Dark smears, not paint, worse blood, scattered handprints, footsteps, dragged through crimson signs of panic, of struggle. And then, I saw her, a child, still as stone. Maybe 9 or 10, small and pale. Hair limp and dark around a narrow face, her eyes locked onto mine. Unblinking, unafraid. And then, that smile, thin, haunting, stretched gently across her soot-smudged cheeks. She wore a white dress, tattered and streaked with ash. Bare feet blackened from soot and filth. She tilted her head slightly, like a bird examining something shiny. "Do you see her?" I breathed. No one responded. No one moved. Just me and the girl, framed perfectly by the fractured mirror. She raised one hand, delicate, thin, and pointed, downward. I followed her gaze. At her feet, scratched faintly into the floor, etched in dried blood, a phrase. "Rehearsal number 3, I mouthed the words. Rehearsal? What did that mean? Mrs. Harper's breath caught. "Lucas?" She turned slowly. "Are you seeing?" The lights flickered, sharp and sudden. The room fell into a half-darkness. Gasps echoed. Then the lights steadied. The mirror was normal again. The crack remained, but it reflected only reality. Easels, paint cans, puzzled students. Mrs. Harper stood beside me, pale and shaken. The fire was gone. So was the blood. And the little girl? Vanished. But I'd seen her. Mrs. Harper had too. "I think we should end class early," she said quietly. "Everyone gather your things. Leave in an orderly manner." The class complied. Whispers filled the air as students filed out. Soon, just the two of us remained, alone, facing the cracked mirror. "It's happened before, hasn't it?" I asked. She nodded slowly, bit her lip. "Yes," she whispered. "Twice. Years ago, when I was a student here. Nobody talks about it. Nobody wants to remember. What happened?" My voice was barely audible. She hesitated, glanced nervously at the glass. "The school caught fire," she said. "There was an accident. Students died. But the fire never really happened. No bodies, no real damage. It just vanished." Teachers called it hysteria, a shared delusion, mass hallucination. So they locked the mirror away. I stared at the reflection. My stomach twisted. "But now it's back," she whispered. "And it's different, more vivid." "Who was the girl?" I asked. She shook her head. "I don't know. But she wasn't there last time." We turned to leave. But I paused, glanced back, just once, and for a moment, I saw her again. The girl, standing silently, smiling softly. One finger tapped gently against the mirror's glass. Tap, tap, tap. Then she vanished. That night, sleep escaped me again. Questions whispered in the dark, tapped against my skull like restless knuckles. I stared at the ceiling, afraid to blink. At 2:13 a.m., my bedroom door creaked open. My pulse surged in the doorway. The little girl, white dress pale in moonlight, eyes glittering softly. "Rehearsal number 3, she whispered, soft as rustling leaves. "We're almost ready, Lucas. Almost ready." Then she stepped back, into the shadows. Gone. I jumped to my feet, ran to the door. The hallway was empty. Still, bathed in moonlight. But from deep inside the house, a scent. Faint. Unmistakable. Smoke. Not strong, but real. As if somewhere beneath the floorboards behind the walls a fire had begun to burn. Part 7. The endless hall from the series, locked down. But no one locked it. It started with a cough. Just an ordinary cough. Jake cleared his throat again, swallowing against the dry itch scraping the back of his tongue. Nothing unusual. Allergy. Season. The pollen at Greenville High always crept into your lungs like it belonged there. Still the cough nagged him. Persistent. Like a forgotten task you never quite finish. He sighed. Raised his hand. "Yes, Jake." Mrs. Barnes glanced up from her notes, eyebrows lifting in polite curiosity. "Can I, head down to the nurse's office real quick?" His voice cracked halfway through, a teenage betrayal that earned a ripple of giggles from the back of the room. His face flushed. "I just need a cough drop or something." Mrs. Barnes studied him for a second, then nodded. "Go ahead, but straight there and straight back." "Thanks," Jake muttered. He grabbed the hall pass from her desk. The classroom door clicked, shut behind him, sealing him off from the familiar drone of math class. Silence. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Lockers gleamed faintly, Spring formal posters fluttered slightly as a draft whispered through the corridor. Jake shrugged off the weird feeling. Imagination. That's all. He turned left. The way to the nurse's office, burned into muscle memory after 2 years in these halls. But something felt wrong. He passed room 203, then 204, then 205. Each door identical, each classroom empty, his footsteps soft against tile. The silence thickened, not comforting, watchful. He glanced at the hallway clock, 10:47 a.m. Plenty of time to get a cough drop, and return before the bell. He rounded the next corner and paused. This hallway looked identical. Same blue lockers, same flickering poster about soccer tryouts, same everything. Deja vu scratched at the edges of his thoughts, like fingernails under the skin. He blamed dehydration, fatigue. But then, room 203 again. Jake stopped. Blink. Frown. Hadn't he just passed this? He turned to look behind. The hallway was empty. Still. Normal. He must have looped around. Took the wrong turn. Easy mistake. Right? He kept going. Counted his steps. Carefully. Room 204. Room 205. Corner turn. Room 203. No way. He whispered. His voice echoed weirdly. Too loud in the quiet. Goosebumps. His arms prickled. This wasn't confusion. This wasn't tiredness. The hallway was repeating, looping, like a broken record, spinning the same track again and again. Panic stirred in his chest, wings flapping, moth in a jar. He turned around fast, walked quicker now, almost jogging, lockers blurred, posters whispered, paper voices laughing quietly behind his back. Room 204, room 205, turn the corner, room 203. He stumbled. Sweat crawled down his back. His throat tightened. He banged on the nearest door. Metal rang out. Hollow. Hello? Anyone in there? Silence. Then, scrape. Soft. Barely there. Something was moving above him. He tilted his head slowly. The ceiling vents. Dark slits lined the hallway like blind, watching eyes. Another movement, a soft shuffle just behind the metal, like silk dragged across steel. Jake's heart jumped. He took a step back, then another. Scrape. Closer. Hello? His voice cracked. Fear slipped in. The thing in the vent shifted, a whispering sound. Dry leaves in a tunnel, then Jake. A whisper. Breathy, fragile, unmistakable. Jake. He turned. Ran. But the hallway didn't end. Just lockers, doors, room 203 over and over and over. Jake. It followed him, sliding along the vents like it belonged there. Its sound everywhere. Above, beside, behind. You're not real, Jake shouted. His voice cracked, raw. The whisper laughed, a soft, dry chuckle, like rusted hinges in the dark. The vents shivered. Dust fell like ash. Jake, you're late. We've been waiting. Waiting for what? Jake shouted. Who are you? What do you want? No answer. Just that breathy rustle, getting closer. Desperate, Jake yanked open the nearest door. Room 203. He slammed it shut, chest heaving, turned. The classroom was off, desks in place, blackboard blank, but dust coated everything, lights dead, air stale, and on the blackboard, faded chalk letters, rehearsal number 3, Please remain quiet." The words chilled him. Same phrase as the mirror, the girl, the fire. The vent above rattled. A soft giggle echoed. Thin, childlike, muffled by metal. "We've been here before, Jake." He slid to the floor, fingers trembling, chest tight. The vent trembled again. Something was undoing the screws from inside. One screw clattered to the floor, rolled toward him in slow, lazy spirals. Jake shut his eyes, prayed, but he already knew. This hallway would never end. He was trapped. Inside a loop. Inside a rehearsal he couldn't remember. And whatever was in the vent, whatever whispered and giggled and called his name, had been waiting for a very, very long time. Part 8. Broadcast Room. Still active from the series, locked down, but no one locked it. It wasn't supposed to be possible for static to sound so alive. Heather rubbed her temples, trying to dull the steady, pulsing headache that had bloomed behind her eyes since first period. She wasn't the adventurous type. Didn't chase ghosts, didn't seek out dark corners. Yet here she was, standing before the old broadcast room of Greenville High, its faded green door staring back, paint flaking like old skin, sealed since 2001. That's what the story said. Just after the incident no one ever talked about. And yet, today something whispered through the hallway speakers. Something faint, something static. And it drew her here. She wasn't alone. Next to her stood Ryan, the class clown with nerves of glass. Ava, quiet, curious, white-knuckling her phone. And Marcus, still, sharp-eyed, silent behind thick glasses. They didn't want to be here, but they'd all heard it, all felt that pull. They had to check. The corridor was colder here. The air hung thick, like syrup, like old breath. Only one overhead light buzzed above them, casting erratic, trembling shadows across the tile. Heather reached for the handle, expecting it to resist, to lock her out. But it turned easily. Smooth, silent. The door swung open, as if it had been waiting. Inside, a soft amber glow flickered from ancient bulbs in the ceiling. Dust coated every surface like untouched snow. The floor creaked under her step, bearing scuffs from shoes that hadn't walked there in decades. Heather stepped in, left her footprint in the silence. Ava whispered, "Why is the power even on?" Ryan tried to joke, but his voice betrayed him. "Maybe maintenance forgot to unplug the creepy?" Marcus shook his head. "No, this place was completely disconnected. It can't." But then, the speaker hissed. They all jumped, a low buzz, soft at first, like a trapped insect. Then, from the static, a voice, a whisper, thin, crisp, almost careful. "Begin again." Heather froze. The sound crawled down her spine like a cold skeletal finger. Ryan's smile vanished. Ava tightened her grip on her phone. Marcus stared at the control panel, its lights flickering back to life on their own. "Begin what again?" Heather asked. No answer, only the ebb and flow of static. Then the voice returned. This time, clearer, sharper, urgent. "Begin again." It looped, over and over, like an old record, scratched, tired. Heather's arms prickled. Ryan stepped forward, twisting knobs, flipping switches. "Let's just shut this down," he muttered. Nothing worked. The voice persisted, soft, insistent, unshakable. Marcus moved toward the back of the room, opened a cabinet. Inside, tapes, files, documents, perfectly preserved, utterly abandoned. He froze, pulled out a paper, his hands shaking. Heather stepped closer. "What is it?" "A transcript," Marcus breathed. "From 2001, the last broadcast before they sealed the room." He swallowed hard. "It's a list of names. Roll call." But what?" Ryan asked. "These names." Marcus's voice cracked. "I know them." He looked up. They were students from our school, the ones that went missing that year. As if cued, the intercom flared, louder. The voice returned. Clear, deliberate. Matthew Reed, Elizabeth Barnes, James Fletcher. Each name dropped into the room like a stone in water, echoing through the dust and air. Marcus's lips parted, pale, frozen. They're the names on the list. And then, Heather Adams. The voice said her name, and everything inside her stopped. Her chest felt hollow, her skin cold. No, that's not right. Her voice barely rose above a whisper. "Begin again," the voice repeated, soft as lullaby, gentle as a lie. Ryan grabbed her wrist. "Leave. Now." They spun toward the door. It clicked. Shut itself. Ava rattled the handle. It didn't move. Behind them, the voice grew louder, closer, nearer. Heather Adams. "Begin again." Tears burned Heather's eyes. "What does it mean?" she gasped. Marcus answered without looking up. "I think this has happened before, maybe over and over." Heather turned, looked around. The walls, the corners, the dust. She noticed marks, faded scratches, pencil scribbles, names, dates, cut-off sentences. Pleas for help, all half-erased, all unfinished. Then the intercom changed. Its voice now commanded, "Heather Adams, please report for rehearsal." The word, rehearsal, the cracked mirror, the hallway, the vent, the girl who vanished. It all circled back. Heather's knees buckled slightly. "Please," she whispered. "We just want to leave." But the speaker only sighed, and then whispered, again, "Begin again." Heather turned to her friends, panic on every face. Ryan pounded on the door. Ava's phone, no signal. Marcus, silent, distant, eyes hollow, and then the names began again, looping, endless, like a chant, and Heather's name never left the list. It echoed through the speakers, growing quieter and more certain each time. Reality fractured, her thoughts shattered. She wasn't being called. She was being marked, checked off, counted, accounted for, one by one. Her turn had come. The static paused, then a sigh, almost sorrowful, almost human, and finally, "Heather Adams, it's time." She closed her eyes. Somewhere far away, yet terrifyingly close, a voice in her ear whispered, "Begin again." Part 9, erased from memory, from the series, locked down. But no one locked it. It's strange how quickly people can forget someone ever existed. When Sarah Brewster walked into Greenville High the next morning, she immediately felt it. A sensation she couldn't place, an itch beneath the skin, an invisible flutter just beyond reach. Sunlight spilled warmly through tall windows. Lockers gleamed, banners hung proudly. Laughter rose from clusters of students before first period. Everything looked normal, peaceful, safe. But Sarah's mind buzzed, like an old television caught between channels. Static, broken fragments. Something was missing. She shifted her backpack, scanned the crowd, familiar faces, casual smiles, jokes shared between friends. They moved around her like a river flows around a stone, like she wasn't even there. Her eyes caught her reflection in the glass of the trophy case. Messy brown hair, eyes rimmed with exhaustion. Dark smudges beneath them like old bruises. Her reflection stared back, hollow, uncertain. Then, a whisper grazed her ear, so faint, but so clear. Begin again. Sarah spun around, heart hammering. Nothing. No. On, she clutched her chest, breathing in deeply. Just your nerves, she told herself. Still shaken up from yesterday. Yesterday, her brow furrowed. What even happened yesterday? Flashes, red lights, sirens, fear, lockdown. Yes, there had definitely been a lockdown. So why was no one talking about it? She approached Jenna by her locker, forced a small smile. Hey, do you remember anything weird about yesterday? Jenna turned, face bright and calm. Weird how? The lockdown, Sarah said, more urgently now. It wasn't a drill, remember? People panicked. Mr. Graham disappeared. Jenna blinked, then laughed softly. A lockdown? Sarah, what are you talking about? Her voice was light. Too light. There wasn't a lockdown. And who's Mr. Graham? The hallway tilted. Reality bent. Mr. Graham, Sarah repeated. He's our science teacher. But Jenna just smiled politely. Blank. Empty. Sarah pulled away with a nervous chuckle. Right. Probably just a weird dream. She walked quickly, heart racing. She grabbed her phone, opened her class roster, scrolled. Nothing. Mr. Graham's name was gone. Her throat tightened. She searched for Lucas Tyler, Heather Adams, Ryan Marshall. Their names gone from the yearbook, from the class lists, from everywhere. Their Instagram profiles empty. No posts, no followers, like they'd never existed at all. Begin again. The whisper returned, softer now, calmer, but more certain. Sarah stumbled, leaning against a locker, forehead pressed to cool metal. Her breathing was shallow, quick, her pulse, a wild, desperate beat. What was happening? She looked around again. Really looked. Groups of students laughed, but the clicks were incomplete. Somehow, she could see the gaps, feel the absences, pieces missing, essential pieces, and no one else noticed. She drifted into the library. Her feet moved on their own. Rows of computers buzzed softly. The air was still. Too still. She sat down, typed, browsed the archive. Lucas Tyler. No results. Heather Adams. Nothing. Ryan Marshall. Erased. Her fingers flew faster, year by year, name by name, vanished. It wasn't just now. It had been happening for decades. One lockdown after another. Each time, someone disappeared and no one remembered. The system had been wiping them, systematically, quietly. Her breath caught as a blinking icon appeared on screen. File, rehearsal, number 3. She clicked it, hands trembling. Inside, an incomplete report. Text broken like shattered glass. Alarms, disappearance, erased footage, 4 names. At the very bottom, clear, unmistakable. Lucas Tyler, Heather Adams, Ryan Marshall, Sarah Brewster. She jerked back. The chair screeched against tile, her mind spiraled, her skin crawled. Begin again. This time, the voice wasn't just in her head. It came from the library speakers, from the screen, from the lights, from the air. It wrapped around her like a shroud. She bolted, sprinting into the hall. Students passed by, smiling, laughing, untouched. She shouted, screamed, but her voice slipped through them, unheard, unfelt. She tried grabbing someone, anyone, but her hand passed through. Like mist, like memory. She was fading, like a deleted file, like a story no one remembered reading. Then, footsteps, soft, measured, coming closer. She turned her head slowly. A figure approached, blurry at first, then clearer, familiar. Heather Adams, eyes dim, smile faint. She knelt, reached out a hand. "It's okay," Heather whispered. "We all begin again." Sarah opened her mouth, but no sound came. Words vanished before they reached her lips. Memories dissolved like paper in rain. Heather took her hand gently. The world dimmed, melted into static. And then, from somewhere far away and deep inside her mind, the intercom whispered, "Rehearsal complete. Begin again." Part 10. The 13th door from the series locked down, but no one locked it. It wasn't until the hallway lights flickered and dimmed that anyone noticed the door marked 13. Greenville High had always been predictable, gridded, rectangular, ordinary. Students moved through the halls with robotic ease, scuffing their shoes along the same old tile floors. Nothing ever changed. Until today. Today the air felt heavier, thick, tasting faintly of metal, and beneath that, something deeper. Attention. Like the building was holding its breath, waiting for someone to notice. Alex Harper noticed. He stood still at the far end of the oldest hallway in school, eyes locked on something that didn't belong. A door, plain, gray, marked with the number 13 etched faintly, quietly, but undeniably there. Alex blinked, rubbed his eyes, looked again. Still there. Solid. Impossible. "Hey," he called softly. "Anyone else seeing this?" Emily Brooks appeared at his side, eyes narrowing. "Was that always there?" "No," Alex said, almost whispering. "I've walked this hallway every day for 4 years. That door's not supposed to be here." Danny strolled up behind them, voice light, teasing. "What's the big deal? Probably just a maintenance closet or something." Alex shook his head, a cold prickle creeping down his neck. "No closets here, Danny. Never were." Emily stepped forward. "Careful. Slow. Maybe it's storage." Could have missed it. She reached for the knob. Alex grabbed her wrist. His hand was trembling. "Wait. Something doesn't feel right." Danny laughed, but it didn't sound convinced. "Come on, man. It's a door. What's it gonna do? Bite us?" Alex let go, embarrassed. Yeah, sorry. Just felt weird. Emily gave him a look, half amused, half concerned, and turned the handle. It clicked. Smooth. Too smooth. The door swung open without a sound. Cool air spilled out. Old air. Dusty. Stale. They stepped in, one by one. The room inside was empty. No windows, no furniture, just a single metal desk with a flickering screen and a glowing red button beneath it. Alex approached slowly. His throat clenched as white text appeared on the screen. End simulation. He froze. Simulation. Emily leaned closer. What is this? Some kind of prank? Danny's voice dropped. I don't think so. Then, the intercom crackled. A whisper. Flat, dry as old paper. Drill complete. Next players, please step in. They all flinched. Goosebumps rose along Alex's arms. Emily spun. The door had closed. She tried the handle. Locked. We need to get out, she whispered. Alex stepped toward the desk. The button glowed like it was watching. Wait, he said. We need to understand this. Danny's voice was tight. Are you serious? Don't touch that. Alex stared at the screen. What if none of it was real? The lockdowns, the missing students. Emily grabbed his arm. Alex, stop, you're scaring me. He didn't move. The intercom crackled again. Please press the button to continue, or remain indefinitely. Your choice. Alex's hand hovered over the button. His mind spun. Was Greenville even real? Were they trapped in something much worse? His fingers trembled. Then, he pulled back. I can't, he whispered. We don't know what it'll do. Danny sighed with relief. Thank God. Emily nodded. Let's find another way out. But the screen flickered violently. Images flashed. Hallways, faces, screams, all on a loop. Over and over. Students they knew, but couldn't name. Trapped, erased, replayed. Alex's heart pounded. It's all rehearsals. Then he remembered. Rehearsal number 3, etched into the mirror in the art room. How many rehearsals had they already forgotten? Footsteps echoed outside the room, steady, slow, approaching. Emily stiffened. Someone's coming. Danny ran to the door. Still locked. Alex stared at the button. The screen still read, End simulation. Next players, please step in. The footsteps stopped, right behind the door, waiting. Emily grabbed Alex's sleeve. We have to choose right now. His hand moved again, drawn to the button. What if pressing it was the only way out? Or maybe the final trap? He pressed. At a blinding flash, static. The room trembled, reality warped, colors bled, time twisted. Then, silence. Alex blinked. They were back, in the hallway. Bright lights, open doors, laughter in the distance. No door 13. Emily looked around. Did we just imagine that? Danny rubbed his eyes. Felt real. Alex turned his head. Far down the hall, a group of unfamiliar students stood, pale, silent, staring back at them. The intercom buzzed softly. Simulation reset complete. Next players, please step in. Alex went cold. They had escaped. This time. But the game wasn't over. New footsteps echoed behind them, moving toward a door that no longer existed because at Greenville High, rehearsals never end. Hello everyone, I'm Ceoz Stories. Thank you for staying with me until the very last moment. If that story gave you chills, made you jump, or simply kept your eyes glued to the screen, don't hesitate to hit the like button to support the channel. Share this video with friends who enjoy these sensations too, and don't forget to leave a comment with your thoughts, or even share strange things you've personally experienced, because I'd love to immerse myself in your stories as well. If you're eager to keep exploring untold mysteries, shadows that remain nameless, then subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. A new door will open every day. Are you ready for the next story?